Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Joanna's Tribe. So the place where amazing people speak with me about a variety of different topics. So today we have a guest. Well, there's always a special guest, right? Special for me, special for my heart, for my history. And there is a certain book because I started to conduct my own research, my statistics. So, what is the book that I'm recommending a lot during my classes? And surprise, surprise, dun, 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 this is the book. So, today we are having the author, one of the authors of the Professional Product Owner Special Green Book. So, Ralph Jocham, pleasure to have you here with me.
Hey, thanks for introducing me very well. Thanks, Joanna, for having me. Um, yeah, I'm happy to join you for this quick chat.
Amazing. So, Ralph, I would really appreciate if you introduce yourself in the way that you want people to remember you. What are the most important things you would love to share with our audience?
Wow, this is a good question. Um, I believe in Agile, really, I do. My background is I studied computer science. I was working as a programmer many years. And then early on, I realized even if you can check up all the requirements and you have done everything as specified, it might still be the wrong product. Unhappy customers. And that's when I really started to think about maybe the way we work is also important. And this was basically around 2000 when I discovered Scrum XP kind of together because also of my engineering technical background. And since then, I have been following it. And I've been using it internationally. I've come around a little bit. So originally I'm from Germany. Now I'm living in Switzerland, but I also uh, lived and worked in England, then in the US for a couple of years, and now I'm back in Switzerland. And it works. And I have walked the talk. Um, I've I've used Agile on-site, distributed, FDA regulated, in any which combinations, and it really does work. And this is basically, I think, what I want people to take away is, or maybe about myself, it's okay to believe in Agile. It's there, and it will be there, and it works.
Agile works. So instead of Agile is dead, so please remember Agile works.
The only way I think about that, actually, if I can tell, it's like saying, sport is dead because I did it and I pulled a muscle and now it's hurting. The statistics is out there. A healthy lifestyle is healthy. It's good, and sport is one of those things you can do about that. And it's just like, do it right, think about it, be reasonable, don't overdo it, don't do the wrong things. And I think this is the way I think about Agile. There's it's just common sense to some degree, really applied in a specific way, put together, um, and there's nothing wrong about that.
Mhm. Nice, nice. Thank you very much. So let's go back to the book, right?
Okay, sure.
So I have evidence because if you know me a little bit, you maybe heard that I was complaining. I was complaining about Ralph. This is actually one of the two things that I typically do. I'm presenting the book and telling my colleague Ralph is always saying that I did not read the book, but I'm recommending it. So it used to be that my book looked ideal, but you know what? I was playing with it like that. And
Okay.
finally, you see, it's used. It's used. I have my own evidence. Because when you look inside, sorry, no coffee stains. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
The book looks great. Um, but, sometimes I'm at least trying to pretend I'm reading that. Jokes aside, but this is my proof. This is my proof of the book. Um, So before I share my story with the book and how I use it, Ralph, I would love to understand how this whole idea started, so that you became one of the authors of the book. Do you remember what was the trigger? Did you have any special discussions? Someone proposed this for you?
I mean, yes, I can remember really that day. But let's go a step back. So
Uh-huh.
essentially, I was at Agile, I think 2015 it was, when so Don and I, we were sitting down. I mean, we both have been PhDs for many years, and we know each other, but we have never really met in person. I mean, he's based in Dallas, I'm in Switzerland. So we were sitting there at the Agile conference and talking about the product owner training, and we just said, it's great, but some things we believe there should be different. And I think this was Tuesday, like the conference started on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically took out our laptops, we're sitting down at the bar, ordering martinis and going through that. And other PhDs stopped by and we asked them for their opinions, and like uh, good progress in the beginning, as it often is. Like the first 80% is done in no time and the remaining 20% take forever. And then we believed we can kind of rework the whole training in until Friday. We couldn't. So basically, it was Friday, and we were like halfway through or something like that. So then we decided, this is good work. Let's just keep on doing that. So we kept on doing that for a couple of more weeks until everything was there as we wanted it. And then we went back to Scrum.org and we showed it to Dave West and Ken Schwaber. And we just said, this is what we believe the training should look like. And well, they liked it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's basically then how the curriculum was reworked. And in the context of that, Don and I, we became the first stewards at Scrum.org. And then basically we were kind of curating the training for the next couple of years. Now, while we were then working on the training, we had always like, oh, this would be a great exercise, or this is something important to talk about. A class is 2 days. There's only so many things you can put into 2 days before. The way it is, it's pressure kind of feeding anyway already. So it's kind of like, how can we handle that? So there was this idea about maybe some additional way of writing this down, making it accessible. And then the following year, I think it was at the Scrum Day conference in London, Dave West and I, we sat down and we just talked a little bit. And at some point he said, Ralph, you know what we need? We need a good book about product ownership. And he was looking at me and I was like, oh no, I think he's insinuating I should write a book or along those lines. So I said, okay, I got your message. So then basically the evening I went back to the hotel, I chatted with Don and just said, hey, are you up for writing a book? And he said, yeah, but let me tell you, I have been part of other books before and they never succeeded. They just
Mm-hmm.
died. Anyway, I mean, let's just give it a try. Well, and this is how we started essentially. I think it lasts like somewhere summer 2016. We
Mm-hmm.
decided to work on the book.
Nice. Nice story. I hear it for the first time, so I'm
Okay.
super excited. I'm super
Yeah,
excited.
it was interesting. Like, so then we came up with a definition of done for the book. Like, which person do we write from? You, we, I.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things you should consider, and we did. And then some other things. We put everything into the definition of done for the book, and then we ignored it. So basically, like 2 weeks before we were done, I just realized, oh, we were using all the types of persons. So we went through that again. Going through that. But this is good, kind of every time you touch it again, you read through the chapters. Some of the sentences were really simple to change, but sometimes you really had to rephrase it because the meaning was changing or it
Mm-hmm.
didn't flow it well anymore. But it's always was a chance to basically, improve the book a little bit more.
Like a continuous improvement journey.
Yes, it is. And the other thing which I really took away is that publishing houses, they don't work agile. Um, they do not. So sometimes, like in the beginning, we were supposed to get feedback, and we didn't get any feedback. So we just said, "Oh, our writing is brilliant. We are awesome." No corrections, and somehow then people were rotated around, and we got a new copy editor. and she was brilliant. And suddenly, like I was on a train going to a client, and I got a PDF like this is how I would write this paragraph, a chapter. And I just was reading it on my phone and just, oh, this reads great. This is what we had. And then I was there, opened my laptop, and I compared them. It was totally different. It's kind of really shorter, more on the point, easier to read. And this is really when I also started to appreciate a good copy editor, because you have ideas and everything, and you think whatever you bring down on paper is good, but a copy editor, I mean, that's their job. They have the additional talent to really kind of iron out things along the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me try to paraphrase what I understood. So the first thing was training, professional training for product owners. You started working on it, improving, and later the book was created because you wanted to give something extra, a follow-up, something that will extend the class so that you can leave more tools, more inspirations, more ideas with the class participants. Mm.
So if you have ever attended the training and read the book, you will see there's quite some overlap. I mean, for example, one of the things we just kind of, while we were working on the book, we suddenly realized, hey, actually, what we're talking about is vision, value, validation, the three V's. And that's basically, we went back and we kind of structured the three main sections of the book accordingly. And then we also took that thought back into the training. But also, like, if you I think you will probably see the training in the book, but you see many other things as well, like so many, again, it's 14, 15 hours, the class normally. In the book, we could just address pretty much anything else we were thinking is important about good, proper product ownership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I recall a certain image. I believe this is pure product ownership. Is it Ralph with parrots?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes, yes, yes,
here you
yeah,
go. This is
exactly.
pure
Yeah, yeah,
owners, product ownership, Ralph with parrots. You see? So at least I'm good in pretending that I read the book, huh? Huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me share another story. Like, we have this, we call them blurbs. We had a specific font for that. Also, kind of the way we worked is we were using Google Doc. We had everything in there, and then we were having Skype sessions. So basically, Skype with years, and then basically we were in the document together. And usually, I wrote a paragraph, Don wrote a paragraph, and then he sent it over to me, and I looked at it, commented on it, and then basically we looked at the comments on the comments, and then we basically nailed everything down. And this was usually happening on Saturdays. And Now with the blurbs, there were often situations when I said, no, I do it this way. And Don said, no, but I do it that way. And we just realized, we weren't really thinking identical. And then at the beginning, we spent a lot of, sometimes it took hours, 2, 3 hours to write those maybe two paragraphs in a way that it applies both of us. And then we just realized, Agile is a framework, a Scrum is a framework, so it's supposed to be. And then we just said, okay, how about we bring in a generic description into the book, and then we can always bring in the blurbs. But hey, I as Ralph, I think about it this way, or I have done this and that. And then basically this is how the blurbs exactly were created. And from a feedback perspective, this is what people really appreciate pretty much the most in the book. It's like, those personal experiences, those thoughts and beliefs Don and I are having.
Yeah. I belong to the club. I belong to the club of people who appreciate those personal stories. Would you like to hear my short review of the book?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So I have to say that this is a very good book. First point, it's pretty big and heavy, so it serves pretty well when you need something to put coffee on or some other things. Very good item. Second point, it's heavy, right? So it's a great tool if you have to open the door and you're not sure who is standing there. So I have to admit, it's pretty nice for a woman, to use the book. So very good item, right? And You see, this is the evidence why it's used. And jokes aside, there are two or actually three things that I appreciate a lot. So first, it's description of contents. I do love how it is organized, and I never recommend reading this book like you would read, I don't know, Harry Potter or any other story. What I say, open the book in the area where you are currently having any challenges. Just take it as much as needed, no more, no less. This is a great technique if someone is saying, oh, I don't have time for reading books. Don't read the book, just read a part of it. So the way how it is organized, and it's not just one page, right? Few pages describing different aspects, different techniques, how it is organized into chapters. This is first point. Second point, which I totally love, is in the end, of course, so index. Another technique, another thing that I recommend, okay, don't read the book, start with index, look for problems, techniques, terms you are interested in, and then go back only to those parts to the book that might be interesting for you. Super useful, super powerful, and great because there's no excuse, I don't have time. Last but not least, credits. So I feel like it's very easy to land in the situation when you say, I'm an expert, I know my stuff, you listen to me. And here we have really a lot of references. And I also remember that in the text from time to time, oh, here we go, another example, like we are experts, but at the same time, we appreciate others. We want to emphasize that some people influenced us, the way how we work. And I believe it's also a great point because, hey, dear reader, if you want to read more, here is the reference, here is inspiration. Go back in time, read this article. Maybe you will go deeper, and this article will be mentioning something earlier, So I treat it as a nice gesture of, on one hand, we owe something to the community, but also maybe you would love to start this exploration journey, to go back and go back and go back. Of course, I have a lot of jokes, how handy it is, especially for a woman. But in my opinion, the way how the book was organized is great because it's super useful. It's like something that I would love to have it on my desk if I started working as a product owner full time.
Yeah. And sometimes I get a message on just an email or on LinkedIn or other social media. It's just someone thanking me for the book. It's like, it's awesome. It's like really feels good because, it was quite some work. It was like 1.5 years of weekends, evenings, and things like that we have put into that. Now also going back to the weight, it weighs 620 grams about.
Oh my God.
Now the thing is, why is this interesting? Why do I know this number? Because often when I went to clients or something, I took copies with me, and there's only so much weight you can take on a plane. 10 books is 6.3 kilograms, about something like that. So it's something you could always account for accordingly. Yeah. No, but honestly, I mean, it has close to 800 reviews on Amazon. It's 4.8 stars. I just recently calculated the NPS. It's around 80%. So I think it's something I can be proud about, and in a real way. Or Don and I, we can be proud about it.
I'm a promoter. I don't have any special review for you, but I'm using the superpower of how do we say it? Gossip marketing, right? So I cannot count how many people got a message. This is something you want to buy. So definitely I believe it's a really, really good book, especially for product owners, but not only for product owners. I even recently recommended it for the leaders, right? Because we tend to say that depending on the situation, everyone can uncover some product ownership opportunities in their job, and then, ta-da,
Yeah.
take it, right?
Yeah. And for me, it's like, when you just mentioned this with leaderships, for me, it really boils down to, so I like to talk more about product ownership than product owner, the title, because product ownership is really the activity, what you do. This is really what matters in the very end. And what really is the focus of this book is kind of vision, value, validation. You have some idea, then you think about what can I do best to make customer happiness a reality, and then how can I make sure it actually happens validation. And for in the book, it's really something we also point out quite a bit is what we call the product management vacuum. This disconnect. So usually, I always say strategy is easy, and people give me a hard time for that, and probably they're also right. But often I hear is, well, we have to make sure that someone does this. My question is always, how do you make sure, and who is someone? So the challenge is to bring strategy down onto the ground on a tactical operational level. And that's what we often see in organizations. They have great ideas, but then somehow going it through the layers of the organization's documents being typed up, passed on to someone else to read it until someone executes on that, it's lost in translation. Maybe you remember the movie where, where things kind of happen in the end. And this is really where product ownership comes into the picture, because normally this vacuum gets filled with classical project management, it's project mindset. And projects have the tendency to get their own dynamics. They, it's being on time, on scope, and budget is more important than to delivering the right customer outcome, customer happiness. And again, this is where product ownership then really comes into the picture. And this also broadens the perspective a little bit, because as a project manager, you don't really have to be aware about the company vision, the business strategy. You just get something and you act on it. But now, as a good empowered product owner, you would have to understand, why is the organization doing that? Why are they thinking along this way? Why do they want to go that way? So once you have that understood, you can translate that company thinking into products and services, and start to act on that. And then you wouldn't write it down and throw it over the wall to developers where they just basically implement it, and then at the end it turns out to be the wrong thing. This is really when you then also collaborate with them, work with them, be available for them if they have questions, and answer their question. Kind of validation within the Scrum team, within the sprint, and then you would have the sprint review away, then we're bringing stakeholders, users if possible. Another level of validation. And then finally, if you do Agile really well and you can make frequent releases, that's the last level of validation, the real customer feedback. And if all of this works out, you have done a good job as a product owner. Now, often what I see is that product owners or product Scrum teams are seen as feature factories. They just throw in bits and pieces, and they grind through that and throw out the features at the end. And this is totally wrong. And where I'm really kind of sad about this is that certain people in the industry, which are also well respected, they still see Scrum as a feature factory, and they don't do their homework, they don't do the research, they have never attended one of our Scrum.org classes, and they just go out and say, well, Scrum sucks for these reasons because a product owner is just there to deliver a component features. That's wrong, No, that's not what a product owner is, and we've been stating that for, I don't know, it's probably now close to 10 years. But nobody's doing their homework, and then they go around and complain and come up with those phrases. I'm not repeating it here because I don't want to keep the social engine.
I believe we can all imagine what you wanted to
Yeah.
say. Yes. So I agree, and feature factory, or sometimes I call it King's Julian's approach, like faster before we all come to our senses, right? It's unfortunately still our disease, and this is definitely not professional Scrum. And the book let me emphasize that, says the professional, not Sam, not King Julian, not the manager of factory. It's professional product owner, right?
Yeah. And then the subtitle, leveraging Scrum as a competitive advantage. This is really what it's about, because as a product owner, you are the person accountable for making sure the business outcome, the impact is there. Uh, but it's not just that the numbers, the money is there. It's also that how do you get there? It's about making sure that the customers are happy, they have received what they needed, what they were looking for, what they were expecting. And usually, kind of, this is also a good way how we look at it. It's like, there's lots of activity, and activity creates output, but output is nothing else but inventory. It's shelves or drives full of stuff. But once you release it, you give it into the hands of a customer. That's when you can create outcome. And it might not happen because you did the wrong thing, but then it's like a slap on your wrist, and you can learn from that and go back and think about what should be changed. But if this happens, and this is really where I like to think along the lines of Peter Drucker. He was saying the only reason for management to exist is to create customer. And he was using singular by design, because he just said, if you have one happy customer, they'll talk about it. And then more people will buy the product. And then basically you have a good outcome, happy customers, and this will create a company impact you're looking for. So basically, earned money, and also then money you can invest in other product research, some other ideas you want to pursue.
Nice. So now we had a short introduction to being a product owner by the author of the book. So thank me later, everyone, for free little training. I'm always happy to invite amazing people. I have a last remaining question, because I used to write things. So I even wrote a book. This is called my PhD thesis. And guess what? Maybe 4 people read my book. No one was super happy about that. So that was not the best experience ever. And what I remember from that experience is that there was a certain moment when my PhD mentor told me, we should do a final release. I know that you may feel it's not perfect, and I can relate to that, but it's time to tell yourself, let's do it. And maybe in the future, you will be creating new things. You can add something to that. But this is the moment, So I felt like it's a never ending journey. But we, together with my mentor, we have chosen that this is the moment. Did you also experience that you could do work on it more and more and more, but you said to yourself, or maybe someone told you, like, hey, let's do it. Let's finally publish.
Yes and no. I mean, you start off with, and in the beginning, you worry, well, like, do we have enough ideas to actually have a book? Maybe it turns out to be 10 pages, and that's it. And so we were thinking about somewhere, let's say 200. We thought is a good number, plus minus. And then at the end, it was like over 400, and we had to take out things. And this is like somebody stealing your babies, because you really, but we just thought it's too much. So we went through it again, and we just, sometimes we took out a whole chapter, or sometimes we shortened paragraphs and things like that. Because at some point you realize you need to get done, you need to ship it basically. And but then suddenly, the closer you get to that, the more anxious you get. It's like, is it really good? Is it good? Is it good? Shall we? Shall we? Shall we? And but on top of that, there's the counter experience I was having. So yes, I'm anxious about, is it ready? And you would just say, no, let's just make sure this is there, once more, once more. But on the other hand, it's like, once you get the final reviews from the copy editors and other things, you get the PDF back, and they have kind of the virtual stickies in there, and then you go through that and you type in your comments and everything. And this is when I said printing a publisher doesn't work agile, because they handed everything over to different departments. And at some point, like, you don't want to read it anymore because you think it is there, but then you get this last copy edited version of the PDF. And so I just said, shall I look at it again, everything? Because, and I just said, yeah, I'll do it. And I started at the back. Just this time I go backwards. And the funny thing is, because we have for our blurbs, we have the images in there, and somehow the images were taken out and some changes, and I just basically typed into the PDF, please make sure the images are added back and blah blah blah, something along those lines. And then I sent it back, and then I got another. Every time you comment, you get a new version. And basically, the new version means you have to look at pretty much everything again, which with about 300 pages takes quite some time. So, but and then it came back again. I just said, "Shall I look at it again? Shall I look?" And just said, "Yeah, yeah." It's kind of like this thinking, like if you don't do it now, you might regret it later on. And I'm so happy I did, because in this case, they didn't put in the images back. They just typed in the sentence I gave them. Please make sure the images are added again on the page. And this would have been, if you think about this in the published book, there's like comments in there. It's like if you get a Word document and you see the comments from other people about it. Yes, and then I was really getting. Then I just said, okay, I have to go through everything once more. And I was really going through everything, and small things here and there. And then I didn't look at it again anymore. I just said now, and I was more careful the way I annotated everything, so this doesn't happen again. Problem I had. And then you ship it, and then suddenly it's being like announced it will be on Amazon in March. Then it turned out to be August or something like that. It's kind of, again, everything is taking longer and longer, but then suddenly it's out there and you get the first review and things like that. And that's when you really realize, yeah, I've written a book and it's out there.
Nice, nice. That sounds like a much, much better experience than my story. But yeah, maybe one day I will once again write something longer. However, I have my own bias, and I'm happy to have this conversation with you, to learn from you, to listen to your story. And now I have something extra, because when this video will be published, I will be doing like that. Here is the book, and here is the video where the author will recommend the book. So
Okay.
everything is for a reason. Thank you very much, Ralph. It was a pleasure spending this time with you. Thank you for your story, for your openness. And if you are looking for the book, I will leave the links in the description box. And as always, because we have a hashtag challenge, so the hashtag for this video is the green book. So feel free to leave it in the comments if you don't know the book. I would challenge you to give it a try, to explore, and see you next time.
Thank you, Joanna. Thanks for having me.